Good afternoon. Thank you for watching. I'm here to discuss the Dakota Access Pipeline and the TPP, or the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They are related. They're not uh, distinct events. These events are going on now, right now, as we are talking. There are people in North Dakota who are standing against the fossil fuel pipeline from getting uh, in, from crossing the river, from polluting the environment, from pillaging the land. And if the TPP is passed, these international fossil fuel corporations will have unlimited access to our lands and our waterways. I've got here several documents. The first one is published by Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! And she asked, what banks are leveraging the Dakota Access Pipeline? And Hugh McMillan answers, the Dakota Access LLC is a joint venture of Phillips 66 and a joint venture of two members of the Energy Transfer family, Energy Transfer Partners and Sunoco Logistics. Enbridge and Marathon Oil have bought into this joint venture. Together, they now have about a 37% stake in the pipeline, in the Dakota Access Pipeline. And how are the banks involved, is what Amy Goodman asked. And McMillan answers, well, they are banking on this company and banking on being able to drill and frack for the oil to send through the pipeline over the coming decades. So they're providing the capital for the construction of this pipeline. And explain what the banks are, which banks are they, and how are they involved? McMillan answers, well, I've got a list of the 17 banks that are specifically providing financing for this project. And it's also coupled together with an energy transfer partner project to convert an existing pipeline that will connect to the south end of the Dakota Access Pipeline and run oil all the way down to the Gulf Coast, where there are refineries and also export infrastructure. International fossil fuels. What are the banks? Pay close attention, because if you're banking with any of these, whether you've got a credit card or a checking account or a savings account or whatever, find another place and call the banks and tell them to cancel your accounts, and tell them why. Because they are supporting the Dakota Access Pipeline. Here they are. Citibank is the major bank involved. They're handling the books. Wells Fargo, heard of them lately? BNP Paribas, SunTrust, Royal Bank of Scotland, Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, Mizuho Bank, TD Securities, ABN AMRO Capital, DNB First Bank, and that's a bank based in Philadelphia. It's not the DNB Bank based in Norway. And they have actually provided several hundred million to the Energy Transfer family. And ICBC of London, SMBC Nikko Securities, and Societe Generale. That's your list of banks that are supporting and leveraging the Dakota Access Pipeline, otherwise known as DAPL. Now then, is DAPL the only pipeline going on? No. Since the DAPL was started, President Obama has signed legislation or whatever to provide for at least 2 more pipelines that cut across Native American reservations. These pipelines must be stopped for the environment, for our future, and to honor the treaties that we have established with the Native Americans. Now, how does all this relate to the TPP? I've got more papers here. If you've got time, get your cup of coffee and sit down, because the TPP is a document that destroys the fabric of our society. It really does. Once this goes into law, multinational corporations can sue the taxpayers of the United States for perceived, not actual, perceived losses. Perceived dollars not gained by legislation enacted or current within the country. And when they sue them, the case goes before a tribunal of 3 corporate lawyers who decide the case. I don't know about you, but I don't think the corporate lawyers have your interest and mine at heart. To make matters worse, there's no appeal to this. There's no appellate court. It goes to those lawyers and those lawyers only. Now then, what does the TPP do that affects the pipeline and its banks? Well, Hugh McMillan, who I quoted a few minutes ago, his investigation revealed the dozens of financial institutions that are bankrolling DAPL and here's what they can do. Because of the TPP and the provisions in it, state-operated financial institutions will no longer be viable. Why? Because they have the potential to cut into the profit of these international banks, fossil fuels, and other things. Now then, the fossil fuels are just as much to blame. This will lift the fracking requirements or legislation that a country may wish to pass. It will also allow for the international trade of fossil fuels across vast distances of land and water within the interior of a nation. Not just our nation, any nation. Now think about that. If the fossil fuel industry is allowed to run rampant like this and do anything that they want in pursuit of a dollar, we might as well give up. Show's over, because the environment is going to be pillaged even further than what it is now, even more so. And that includes natural gas, coal, and oil. What will it do to the fish business? The fish business. The environmental chapter of the TPP attempts, but ultimately fails, to address overfishing. It doesn't address it at all. It has language about prohibiting shark fishing and shark finning, preventing illegally caught from entering international trade, and having regional fisheries institute the practices. Sounds good. The right words are going to be in the chapter, but it won't have any teeth. That's because the pact doesn't require countries to abide by these provisions. The only thing legally binding is must or shall. And what we've seen is a lot of strive and no evidence. The TPP would provide big banks with the backdoor means of rolling back efforts to re-regulate Wall Street in the wake of the global economic crisis. The deal would require our national laws to conform to the TPP. Anything that we've done in the wake of the last recession would be undone. The collapse of the unions would be final. The unions would cease to exist in a matter of years. The unions are the last barrier between us and the fossil fuel oligarchy. The fossil fuels are striving for global control. Nothing less than that. The TPP hands it to them on a platter. Now then, what is the urgency behind the TPP and why all the secrecy? Because the Russians and the Chinese are trying to strike a deal. They're trying to strike a deal. And if they can pass the TPP, the fossil fuel industry has control over the world's economy. With one stroke of the pen, the TPP must be stopped. DAPL must be stopped. These things are important to the future of our children and grandchildren and the future of life on our Mother Earth. Thank you. I hope that this has been enlightened. I hope I haven't uh, been too lenient on the fossil fuels and the banks involved. If so, let me know, and I'll come back and do it again. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your 16 minutes of time. Bye-bye.